Welcome to 100 Days in Vault Hunters 1.18, but with a twist. Every single time I go into a vault, I'll spin a wheel for a challenge, and if I complete that challenge within the required number of vaults chosen by this wheel, then I'll spin another wheel for a reward. Let's begin. Day 1 was the same as always. I gathered some wood, made some stone tools, and went exploring for a village. I explored some more and found a very deep cavern that went all the way down to deep slate level, so I decided it would be a good place to start my mine. Now, I mined for a while and found some diamonds and the such, but that wasn't actually what I was looking for. I was looking for two new things. The first one is chromatic iron, and the second one is vault stone. And finally, after a lot of mining and a lot of pickaxe durability, I finally found vault stone on day 4. Now, my hunt for vault stone took a pretty long time, but not nearly as long as my chromatic iron hunt. At one point, I actually got so desperate that I said this. I'm gonna be perfectly honest with you. If I don't get chromatic iron before my diamond pickaxe breaks, it has, 678 durability? I'm gonna give myself one chromatic iron, just one, because I'm pretty sure you can find it in the vault too. Give myself one to make one vault crystal, and then, oh! Well, speak of the devil, there it is. After mining that surprisingly small pocket of chromatic iron, I geared up with some diamond armor, and then I decided to move house. Now, the village was nice and all, but it was in a really cloudy area. It was kind of bad looking, so I decided to move to a desert that was nearby. Now, I didn't realize this until like halfway through the recording, but I probably decided to settle in the laggiest place in the entire world, a desert combined with an ocean. Now, that's bad enough on its own, but combine that with the laptop I'm playing on, and oh my god, was this an experience. So, I set up shop in this giant village, raided all of the houses, and then made my first vault altar. Now, the reason I wanted chromatic iron and vault stone is because vault rock ore doesn't exist anymore, and this is how you make vault crystals. I was looking around because I was struggling to find a place to put my portal, but then I found it. I looked across the street and saw a church sitting there. And so, I did the most reasonable thing anybody would do at a church. I destroyed all of the furniture and built my portal to another dimension in the wall, and also my portal that goes straight to hell. And after a little bit of gathering, I finally found the materials I needed to make my first vault crystal. I decided I actually wanted to move into where the church was and keep this area for my villagers, but I set that aside for now because now it was time to go into vault number 1. Now for this vault, I was focusing on the objective called monoliths. Monoliths are a different type of objective in this version. They basically act like obelisks. You need to find all of them, but once you find them, you don't need to kill a boss, you just need to leave the vault, which is really nice. Now I told myself in this vault I wasn't going to loot, but I saw this shiny Larimar. I'm like, I have to loot this, right? So I went to grab it, and look at this. I survived that fall with 1 HP. 1. This is one of those times I wish I had like a heart rate monitor hooked up to me, just so you could see how fast my heart was beating. Now at this point, as you might have guessed, I fully expected to die in this vault, but I somehow got all 3 monoliths and got the heck out of there before I died. I was so shocked. Now after that vault, I immediately did the sensible thing and grabbed heal, which was essential in any Vault Hunters 1.18 playthrough in my opinion. If you don't have this, get it right now. Afterward, I moved all of my stuff to the church, aka my permanent home for the rest of the 100 days, and slept away the night. Next, I wanted to work on my villagers, and sticks would be my main source of emeralds, so I went up to the nearby mountain to gather some trees and some dirt, and I moved my villagers into my previous home. I put iron doors on the villager enclosure so I could keep them there to do my bidding, and prevent them from going back to their normal lives ever again. By the time I had finished imprisoning my villagers, all my trees had grown, so I decided to chop them down. After a few deforestation sessions and a few villager trading sessions, I decided to go into vault number 2. Now you might have noticed in the previous vault I actually forgot to spin the wheel. That was just my bad, but this time I didn't forget to. Now, we rolled 31 vault bronze, and I only had 1 vault to do it. I knew immediately this wasn't happening. This vault was probably one of the best vaults I've ever run. It was actually incredible. I found an X room, which I actually just skipped, because in case it was trapped I wouldn't be able to get out without dash, so I skipped it for now. But I found a viewer room, which had a bunch of paint buckets, which had different types of chests in it. There were some paint drops around the side, which had some ores in it too, and there were also coin piles at the bottom, so a mix of everything. And then, on top of that, I found a living chest omega room called the mushroom room? One of the two. But it had a bunch of living chests. Even though it was hard to navigate, it was still really good. And then finally, to top it all off, on top of that, I lost my way and I might have died. Yeah, so that's a lesson for me to mark my path next time. I got the materials to make some new vault crystals, cycled some more of my villagers, and made 2 new vault crystals that I could run later. Going into vault number 3, my challenge was that I had to complete the vault, and after seeing that it was 4 obelisks, I knew once again that this wasn't happening. Now the main problem with this vault is that, unlike last season, I didn't have shulker boxes going into it. Now luckily I did find some in the vault, but my inventory was getting really full by this point, so I had to leave around the 12-minute mark. But I kind of wish I hadn't left, because if you see the experience bar, if I just looted a few more chests I would have made it to the next level. I made my first shulker box, ate a burger to level up, and spec'd my first skill point into dash. Now going into vault number 4, my challenge was to collect either 3-player gems or 3-player ores, which, once again, for the third time, I knew wasn't happening, unless I was very lucky. Now one thing that lifted my spirits was that I only needed 2 monoliths to complete this, so that brought my hopes up. I found an X mark room, which I actually went into this time because I had dash in case I needed to get out, but it was actually safe. I managed to get both monoliths by the end of the vault and left with a monolith crate and an unidentified vault axe, my first piece of vault gear. I opened my monolith crate and it actually had an unidentified sword in it, so now we had 2 pieces of vault gear to open. And after opening them, I realized my sword actually had more attack damage because it rolled a massive +5 attack roll. You can see here on the stat screen that with the iron sword my damage was 9.6, but with this new vault sword it was 26.7, a massive upgrade. After trading with my villagers for a little bit for some emeralds, I decided to make a bounty table. Now a bounty table is similar to my challenge wheel thing, except that you don't have a specific number of vaults to do it. So I took this challenge to kill 16 zombies in the vault for all of this stuff, which is a very good bounty in my opinion. I spun the wheel for my next challenge, which was to open 14 ornate chests, which was kind of doable but was also kind of hard. I made another vault crystal, and then I went into vault number 5. Now you may have noticed it in the bottom left, but before this vault I actually got a new ability called Stonefall. Now Stonefall is kind of what it sounds like. It basically negates fall damage, but it only lasts for like half a second, so I have to time it right. I got another mushroom, and I also got an unidentified vault helmet. I found this really cool trader room, which requires me to bring money into the vault, like vault gold and vault silver, but I forgot to do that, and I also didn't have a lot of money, so I missed out this time, but oh well. I filled up both my shulker box and my inventory, and I left the vault to almost receive a level up. I made another shulker box using the shulker shells I collected from the vault, and I claimed my bounty, which gave me the level up I needed. Now this part was pretty cool. I opened my Scrappy Plus helmet, Scrappy Plus by the way, and I got an epic Lion Guard helmet. Off my 3rd roll, I got an epic piece. That's insane! I spent the next whole bunch of days just gathering resources and trading with my villagers to get stockpiled as much as I could just on vault crystals and also emeralds so I can buy some more books. I also got a new bounty, which was to submit polished vault stone at the table, which was pretty easy to do because I already had vault stone. So I completed that bounty, and then I got a new bounty to kill some husks. I decided now was the time I wanted to build a farm because I was struggling on some of the food items for my vault crystal. Vault number 6 was a scary looking one, but nothing that I couldn't handle. I found a dragon room which I decided to avoid because dangerous, and I also managed to pick up a vault chestplate along the way. Now up until this point I was surviving pretty well for myself in the vault, until this happened. So there goes the boots and the chestplate that I got earlier. I feel like vault number 6 is like cursed or something. I died in vault number 6 in my last series too. I don't know what's going on with that. But not all hope is lost, because in that vault I found the ornate dungeon, which allowed me to open the 14 ornate chests that I needed, combined with the previous vault. And that means I get to spin the wheel for a reward. And I managed to get 4 mystery boxes. That's not bad at all. And those 4 mystery boxes weren't actually that bad. I got Iscalium and Ashium from it, 2 Pogors, and I also got some Larimore. I gathered the materials I needed to make my next vault crystal and went into vault number 7. Now my challenge for this vault was to get 23 vault bronze, which now is doable. Before it wasn't, but now it very much is. Apart from finding a bunch of coin POIs and pretty much tripling the amount of coins that I needed to complete the challenge, nothing really eventful happened in this vault. But I did find build monoliths, so I left the vault with a monolith crate. Upon leaving the vault, I leveled up and I got my challenge reward of 4 vault ingots. Using my 2 skill points, I went with the haste ability so I could mine my trees faster, and nothing else. I went ahead and made a vault forge where I can craft vault gear or vault trinkets when I eventually find them. I also made an artisan station where I can upgrade and modify vault gear that I have already. I went to the nether and grabbed nether wart and planted it on my farm so I could use it in either vault crystal recipes or for potions. After gathering more materials for vault crystals and making an elytra, because yes, you can make that in this pack, I made a soul shard pouch so I can start collecting soul shards. One more round of collecting later, I made some animal jars and animal pens so I could store some animals safely in my house. I went ahead and collected animals until I felt like I had enough, and I spun my next challenge on the wheel. I had to collect 34 gold ingots in this vault, but I also rolled an ornate modifier, so I decided I would forego the 34 gold ingots and just go for ornate chests. Now this vault was going well until I got cornered by some drowned. That's how I go out, huh? On a sweet berry bush. I was so upset, I just went straight into another vault after that. This vault went pretty well, not because of anything crazy or anything like any crazy rooms, but because I survived. I would say surviving is a pretty good thing. I leveled up using burgers and expecting to vein miner fortune before farming my crops and working on my next vault crystal. The next day, I made the black market, which is basically the replacement of the soul shard shop in this season. I continued my job as a lumberjack and gathered a whole bunch more materials for vault crystals before going into the next vault. For vault number 10, I needed to collect 20 driftwood, so I wasn't really worried about it. Oh, and also, I got a Christmas themed vault for this one. Now, the Christmas themed vaults are pretty cool. There's like these little gummy bear people for enemies instead of like the normal mobs. But also, look at this chest. 2 rare plus chest plates in the same chest. I don't know what the luck on that is, but that's insane luck. And also, a few minutes later, I got another rare plus chest plate. That was by far the highlight of this vault. Sure, the Christmas theme was cool, but nothing else topped this. I rolled all 3 of my chest plates, and the best one I got was this druid chest plate with 7 armor and 2 health. I spent a while gathering emeralds so I could enchant it, and then I went into vault number 11. Vault number 11 had me build a vault for a challenge, and I had 2 vaults to do it. That's pretty easy, right? That's pretty much a free challenge win. Yeah, that one was fun. I went into vault number 12 and, oh, I forgot to change my bounty. This vault was pretty average, I guess. Not very great, not very bad. It was just kind of in the middle. Nothing really eventful happened. My reward for this one was that I actually got to choose a reward, so I chose mystery boxes and I got a whopping 2 of them. I claimed my bounty, and my next bounty was to submit 7 nether ingots, which I thought I had, so I accepted it, but I realized I only had enough for 5, so I waited on that for now. I spent some time farming up some materials for my next crystal, and then I spent my skill point on Frost Nova. Frost Nova just basically freezes some enemies around me, which is nice for like baby zombies and wraiths and stuff, so it's really nice to have. I went to the nether to grab some building blocks for my next vault, and I went into vault number 13. Now keep in mind here that my challenge was to kill 18 skeletons, which was kind of a lot. I wasn't sure if I was going to be able to do it. Now this vault was insane. Well, not insane up until like the 6-minute mark, but once there were 6 minutes left, I found a mine room. It was kind of unlucky that I had only 6 minutes left because I couldn't really loot all of it, but I was happy because I did find an echo ore. That was the biggest find. I was so excited. Now sadly I didn't kill enough skeletons to complete my objective, but I did finish my other objective, aka the bounty table, and I got enough netherite. Now with that bounty comes with some vault gear, so I rolled it, and the best thing I got was this helmet, which is actually better than my old helmet. And let's be honest, it looks a lot cooler too. Now it was already better than my previous helmet, but I rolled the empty modifier on it and I got item quantity, which is really good. And now I have, in my opinion, one of the best hats in the entire game. I also made a tool vise, which is used to upgrade pickaxes, and I made a vault pickaxe for it, but I never actually upgraded the pickaxe. I just used it as a replacement instead of my netherite pickaxe. After that absolutely incredible roll with the donkey head, I re-rolled my bounty some more until I had to submit polished vault stone to the table. So I decided to smelt up some of my vault stone into polished vault stone, and while I was waiting for that, I spun my next challenge wheel. Now the wheel had me get 23 gilded chests, and I had 2 vaults to do it, which was kind of difficult. I wasn't sure if I was going to be able to do it or not, but I went to a vault anyways. For vault number 14, I entered a living vault, which is kind of unfortunate because I was looking for a gilded chest, but living was good anyways because I can use that to make knowledge stars. I explored the vault for some time until I found a puzzle room. Now if you've seen my last series, you'll remember these things, but I didn't have any puzzle blocks with me, so I just collected some from the bottom level and then left. Now, as you may have noticed in the bottom left, this vault only had 3 obelisks, but I was so close to getting all 3 of them. I had 2, and I just had like 5 minutes left, and I could not find the last one for the life of me. So I had to leave without getting the last one. Upon leaving the vault, I made a shulker box for myself, and I also traded with my villagers some more. After bribing them for some shiny emeralds, I went and submitted my vault stone to my bounty table. After that, I ate some burgers to level up to level 8, and I also got this bounty to mine 2 Larimar ore, and I get an echo gem for it. This is probably one of the best bounties I think I've ever seen. And after that, not to downplay the echo gem bounty, but I made my first knowledge star, and I spec'd into pouches. Now pouches are basically the danks of this season. They work a little bit differently, but they're fundamentally the same thing. But all in all, I think anyone who plays this pack can agree, this is probably one of the first researches you want. Now I was actually genuinely surprised how little resources I had for this. I was almost bottlenecked by magic silk, of all things. But I was actually bottlenecked by chromatic steel too. And at this point, I didn't actually know that I could make chromatic steel, so I thought you just had to find it in ornate chests. I went ahead and made a nature's compass because I needed to get slime to make the pickup upgrades for my pouches. After a whole bunch of crafting, I was left with 2 pouches, both with pickup upgrades, a magnet for myself, and a demagnetizer to put in my base. The demagnetizer doesn't really do much, it just stops the magnet from working in my base, so it's a little bit of a quality of life feature. Upon finishing another crystal, I went to vault number 15, which was another Christmas vault. That vault was pretty average, and I only got a total of 5 gilded chests, so I got nowhere near completing my 23 gilded chest goal. Farming up the materials to make some more crystals took a few more days, but now I was ready to go into vault number 16. My challenge for this one was to collect 11 regret nuggets, which was incredibly easy. I just got very lucky on the roll there, so I was able to complete this challenge with no problem. But that wasn't the only success that happened from this vault. I managed to find another viewer room, which is insane luck, and I also completed my reward from earlier, which means I got a whopping 2 chromatic steel ingots. Afterwards, I had just enough knowledge shards to be able to create 2 more knowledge stars, which allowed me to get simple storage. Now, simple storage is great. The only downside to simple storage over refined storage is that you don't get auto crafting, but in refined storage, you can't use auto crafting in this pack unless you get 100 knowledge stars. Now, going to the next vault, my goal was to get 2 non-player gems or ores, which I actually managed to do. Nothing else eventful happened in this vault, but it did allow me to get a level up. I got a piece of vault gear, which became my new leggings, and I claimed my bounty for the echo gem. Next, I smelted up a whole bunch of sand so I could make some cables for simple storage. I made a storage inventory along with some link cables and started to mine an underground section where I would keep a bunch of my chests. I rerolled 2 of my bounties and they both needed me to get vault apples, so that was pretty easy. I had both of them, so I finished those 2 pretty quickly, and then I got another bounty to kill skeletons in the vault. I placed down all my chests and then realized I built it wrong because you can't connect a link cable to 2 chests at the same time, so I redid it again, but now my simple storage network was up and running. Now this storage inventory block, it might be a little bit different than the other ones you've seen because I don't have a pog yet. I need a pog to upgrade it, and I just need 2 more gems to be able to get that. Next, I sorted out my items. I put all of my stuff into the simple storage network. Breaking all the chests was really satisfying, by the way, but I kept all my vault gear outside of it, so it was easily accessible. I rolled my next challenge, which was to get 15 knowledge essence in 1 vault, so now it's time to go into vault number 18 to complete that goal. I gathered up a whole bunch of resources from that vault, including completing the goal of the 15 knowledge essence, which was really nice, and I left the vault with a shield in hand. Now, a shield was actually better than, obviously, nothing, because I didn't have a shield before, but I got 7% block chance and a weakness cloud when hit. I gathered up a bunch of wood to make into some sticks, and I traded with my villagers for some books so I could enchant my shield and my hoe with Unbreaking and Fortune respectively. I gave myself a reward from the previous vault, which was a few amplifying focuses, and I rolled my challenge for the next vault, which was to gather 4 non-player gems or ores. Vault number 19's challenge was incredibly easy. I just grabbed like 4 Larimar ore, and that was it. I also found a crystal room, which I spent pretty much the entire vault in. I left the vault and got my challenge reward of 10 knowledge essence, which was a max roll, and then I decided to break down all of my Larimar and Beniatite. This is around the time where I actually realized I could make chromatic steel, so I did that and I made a 3rd pouch for myself. I also went ahead and made a vault compass, which I spec'd into with my knowledge stars, which basically just points towards the vault portal whenever you're in a vault so you don't get lost. I went ahead and ate some burgers to level up to level 10, which is actually pretty scary because at level 10 you lose beginner's grace, which means when you die in a vault, you lose everything. But an upside of getting to level 10 is that I get more loot from the vault too. Also, I realized here that my melons and pumpkins weren't actually growing. If you know what's up with that, can you leave a comment down below? Is it like it has to be on dirt or something? I don't really know, but it wasn't really working. My next challenge was to kill 48 zombies in 1 vault, so I went into vault number 20 expecting it to be pretty easy. And easy it was. I was able to complete that really quickly, and also found a crystal room again, which was really nice. But at the 3-minute mark, I actually decided to go back into the crystal room to see if I missed anything, and I did. I found an echo ore. I'm so glad I went back into that room. After that vault, I decided it would be time to break my echo ore. Now, I broke the other echo ore that I found earlier. I can't find the clip for it for the life of me, but I've got 2 echo gems from it, so I had 3. I just need 1 more to make a key piece. So I broke the echo ore, and I got nothing from it, of course. My next challenge was to collect 41 iron ingots, which was pretty scary at first, but then I realized I had 3 vaults to do it. But going into vault number 21, I actually completed it in 1 vault, which was pretty nice. After leaving the vault, I rolled my helmet, which was pretty bad, but then I opened my bounty crate and it gave me a helmet, which was actually better than my old helmet, so I replaced that one. But I think we can all agree that the donkey head looks a lot better than the scrappy rust bucket, so I decided to make a transmogrification table and change my rusty helmet into a donkey head. My reward for the 41 iron ingots was to choose a reward, so I chose knowledge essence and I got 6 of it. I went ahead and made another knowledge shard just because I could, but also I wanted to get double pouches as soon as possible. My next challenge was to collect 10 burger items, which normally isn't that hard, but I wanted to change up my strategy now. Instead of looting a lot, I just want to run through and get as many omega rooms as I can. And this strategy actually worked out pretty well. I managed to find an X room, which was sadly trapped. I found a puzzle room, which I collected a bunch of blocks from the bottom floor, and I also managed to find all 4 obelisks, which was really cool. And you know what that means? We get to fight our first and he's dead. I opened up my boss crate, and would you look at that? I got myself a trinket, which if you don't know is very, very powerful. I went ahead and enchanted a brand new shield that I got, which was better than my old one, and I rolled my trinket. Now the trinket I rolled was Valara's Petal, which, as you can see the description there, gives me +1 regeneration, which as you might expect, is very, very good because there's no natural regen in a vault. Now going into vault number 23, I didn't actually bring Valara's Petal with me because it does have a uses count, and I didn't know when was the right time to bring it. And as you might have seen from the top, this is my first scav vault for this season. I needed 5 ripped pages, 2 red scrolls, 1 drown hide, and 1 empty jar, which was all pretty easy to get. I had all the items I needed around like the 15-minute mark, which made it really easy to complete this vault. And I also completed my wheel challenge as well. I got a bounty to collect 5 zombie hide in the vault, and I also rolled this shield, which actually was, I think in my opinion, better than my old shield, although it was debatable. The new shield had healing cloud on it, which in my opinion was better than the slowness cloud the old shield had. I ate some burgers to level up to level 12, and I spent my 2 skill points into reach. Vault number 24 had me collect 3 player gems or ores, which is actually pretty hard to do. I found an X-mark room, which is thankfully untrapped, so I managed to get all those ornate chests in there. I found a crystal room, which sadly didn't have all the player gems that I needed, but I remember spending a lot of time in this room because the mobs were beating the living crap out of me. But anyways, after that crystal room, I actually got lost, but I did have my vault compass with me, so I was able to get out in one piece. My challenge going into vault number 25 was to open 20 wooden chests, which, let's be honest, that was pretty easy to do. My scav was also pretty easy. I needed 2 green mob essence, 2 blood vials, and 1 skeleton bone shard. The first room going into this vault was actually a trader room, and I got very, very lucky on this one because I found an echoing jewel. Now an echoing jewel costs 9 gold, and I brought 10 gold with me into the vault, so I got extremely lucky here that I managed to buy this. But other than that, I managed to get all my scav items pretty quickly and left the vault with a scav crate. I opened both my scav and my bounty crates, and I got these rare plus boots, which gave me some pretty good stuff after re-rolling them. I made a few black runes to get rid of the enchantment glow on my armor and weapons, and I went into vault number 26. Now vault number 26 was an interesting one. My challenge was to get 1 piece of vault gear, and keep in mind that this vault was ornate. My bounty was to complete a vault, and my scav was pretty easy except for the zombie brain. Now surprisingly, against all odds, I didn't manage to get any of these done. I scoured the vault for the entirety of the 25 minutes, and I got as many living chests as I could, pretty much avoiding every single other one, and I still didn't get the zombie brain. So we end off on a low note, but I guess that just tells you that you can't always have a happy ending. If the next video in the series is out by the time you're watching this, you can click here to see it right now.